This is unpleasant, but it has to be done.
Just a day before the DOJ's deadline to release all the Epstein files, Democrats on the House Oversight Committee have dropped dozens of new images released by the Epstein estate. We're not showing you them because there's a lot of context. There's not a lot of context around them. But we will show you this one image, a line from the book Lolita, written on an unknown female's foot with the book in the background. It is one of several similar photos depicting other quotes from the book, handwritten on
95,000 emails.
The Dems say these messages
Or
are relevant
95,000 something.
that the DOJ might have in its possession. Joining us now, MS Now senior legal reporter Lisa Rubin and Bulwark senior reporter Will Sommer. First on the images themselves.
Will Sommer represent?
From this batch, what can we
Bulwark
say definitively
represent?
about any of these images?
Very hard to say anything, Katie, definitively about them because they're produced to us, as was the last batch, without any context as to date, time, location, how the images were even obtained. You'll remember that last week, some of the images that were obtained, and again, these were obtained from the Epstein estate, were not images that were originally in Jeffrey Epstein's possession. They were matched up by other media outlets with photos that were already in the public domain. What I think you can gather from this is, one, it further cements our understanding of Jeffrey Epstein as a person who very easily traversed between worlds of finance, celebrity, politics, and global influence. There are pictures of multiple people in here that we hadn't yet seen before in photos from the estate. That doesn't mean that Epstein knew them or even knew them well, but there are pictures of people including the magician David Blaine, the New York Times columnist David Brooks, on whose behalf the New York Times says he was at a sole dinner with Jeffrey Epstein once, to which he and Jeffrey Epstein were both invited guests and had no other interaction with him. So that's why I say it's hard to know what exactly to draw from this, except this. The very existence of these photographs and the fact that we're talking about them,
David Brooks.
that this whole issue is not going away soon. It's certainly not going away tomorrow.
David Brooks is a moral man.
Coming up. But
A space moral.
exactly
You're a moral
what the
man,
people
David
who are
Brooks.
Putting out the pictures want us to do, which is to talk about the Epstein files and to talk about what we don't know in anticipation of what we might learn tomorrow. I would say, hard for me to say that we are being used. I would say I feel uncomfortable increasingly about being shown a very select group of images.
Amen.
What we know was a production of 95,000 images, and even that production is itself acontextual.
Yeah, I think they
95,000 images.
Disturbing, I think, was the word that Robert Garcia used last week. And we know, for example, from the estate that fewer than 1,000 of them contained some form of nudity. Again, we don't know that they're pictures that Jeffrey Epstein took or that were originally in his possession, or if they're pictures that he was sending back and forth. But to go back to my original point, not only are these cherry-picked from a production of 95,000, but we also know that the vast majority of those 95,000 images were originally attached to emails that Jeffrey Epstein sent or received.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen those either. So it's really hard to deduce an overall meaning from these.
What is it, 20,000 emails? How many images are attached to each email?
Yes.
The Lolita book is that does obviously feel very on the nose, Will, about Jeffrey Epstein, and an older man who liked an underage girl and embarked on an affair with her. It's a very famous novel, and to put that in the context
Steel cut oats
seems
and chia seeds.
I wonder, is this the sort of stuff that the folks online who are clamoring for it, do they read more into it? Do they want it? How does this land?
It's probably not very good for my
I think it is
teeth.
having certainly one effect, which is really emphasizing to everyone, keeping Jeffrey Epstein in the news, but also what a strange and creepy guy he was. I mean, last week we got the release of the glove photo, very kind of scary looking glove, the sex toys. And again, I mean, these are pictures that are often with very little context. But I think, I think for Democrats and people who really want more revealed about Epstein, I think this is having the intended effect. On the other hand, for Republicans, I think a lot of kind of grassroots conservative activists are still staying pretty quiet about this. I think there is a lot of reluctance because, very close ties to Epstein, at least at one point in Epstein's life. We saw a lot of reporting from the New York Times this week about their relationship, their close friendship. And
Water.
I think Republicans for now.
New York City's finest.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder, what is the anticipation like online right now to tomorrow's DOJ release? Or what should be tomorrow's DOJ release?
Well, I think a lot of people forward to it. We'll have to see if the Department of Justice releases these files or how long it takes for them to come out into the public eye. If they, I think there are a lot of people on the right, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, most famously, who are still following this case even after Donald Trump essentially said to cut it out, that there was nothing to see here, and he ultimately
Cut it out.
want these files to come out. He had to sign the bill eventually.
Cut
but I think
it
there's still,
out.
particularly the sense that Donald battled sort of losing some of his supporters that want to see more.
What about the, there's more images of Steve Bannon. Is Steve Bannon getting any heat? Well,
Yeah, I mean, in the late, again, these are sort of cherry-picked pictures, but we do see Steve Bannon right there. We can see him sitting at this desk with Epstein, talking to him. I mean, Steve Bannon had this sort of undefined relationship with Epstein. He has sort of portrayed himself as someone who really wants answers about what Epstein, what he was up to. But
I like the photo with Chomsky and Bannon.
It's like they're having some kind of discussion or planning.
yeah. Other news, Ghislaine Maxwell, what's she doing?
Ghislaine Maxwell is petitioning a court for her release now that she has not only been convicted, but she has taken her case, Katie, from the trial court through the Second Circuit, the United States Court of Appeals, and tried to get her conviction reviewed by the United States Supreme Court. That didn't work, which leaves Ghislaine Maxwell again at sort of the bottom of what I call Prisoner's Mountain, where she can start what's called post-conviction petition for relief. She's asking the court to let her out of prison on the grounds that there's something constitutionally defective or suspect about her original conviction. She makes 9 different arguments across her brief that was, according to her, written by her and her alone. And among the arguments she makes are some fairly interesting ones about the mishandling of evidence, according to her, juror misconduct, as well as collusion with the plaintiff's lawyers who represent Epstein survivors.
Wicked.
Lisa Rubin, appreciate it. Will Summer, you too. Thank you. Coming up next.
Ghislaine Maxwell. Going for it. Yeah, at this stage in the game, lawyers are quite full of shit. So are judges. Probably best doing your own legal analysis. I mean, if the lawyers are illiterate and you're not,